No matter what your stance on credit cards is, I would recommend everyone to get credit cards. And the reason I say that is because having a good credit history and a good credit score can really make your life easier in the United States. Now, some of the reasons why you need a good credit score are obvious. If you apply for a new loan, you'll get interests that are lower and you will be approved for your loan faster. Some of the other reasons are that if you are renting an apartment, they usually do a credit history check. And if you do not have any credit history, then they can deny your application. Also, if you're applying for a new job during the background checks, usually they will also do some type of credit checks. So it is important to have a good credit score and a good credit history. If you've never used a credit card and you think it's too risky, you can still get a credit card and just keep it. Just having a credit card will help you improve your credit score as well. So you do not have to go ahead and use it. That's good, right? What are some of the other ways to improve your credit score? So one way could be having a lot of credit cards. This tells the bank that this person has been using a lot of different credit cards and they can manage different credit cards. So usually the more credit cards you have, the better. Generally, if you have two or more than two credit cards, it's considered good. Another way is keeping your credit utilization low. So if you have a credit limit of, let's say, $1,000, then keep your utilization lower than 30% of that. So keep it less than $300 and you'll build your credit score. If you go above the 30% limit, usually it will impact your credit score and it will go down, which also means that the higher credit limit that you have, the better it is. Also, if your credit history is very good, you'll get a good credit score. So have multiple credit cards and you'll not get a lot of credit cards if you apply immediately. So you'll have to space them out, which means the earlier you start, the better chance you have of having multiple credit cards. Second is have low credit utilization, ideally less than 30%. Anything more than that could have negative impact on your credit score. Have high credit limit. This completely depends on the bank and how much credit score you have. So the earlier you start, the easier it is to have a higher credit limit in the long run. Have a long credit history. This again depends on when you started using your credit cards. If you miss your payments, your credit score will go down. If you default on your payments, your credit score will go down. Also, utilization over 30% on your credit limit is also going to negatively impact your credit scores. And for people who do not know, credit limit is how much utilization you can have on your credit cards. So you cannot just purchase a $1 million car with your credit card. You'll have a certain limit. And if you're starting out, then it will usually be around $700. You cannot make purchases over $700. And credit history is for how long you've had your credit cards and for how long the credit history has been building. The first step to getting a credit card is having an SSN. If you do not have a social security number, get that first and then apply for a credit card. Without that, you will not be approved for any credit cards. Now, there are two types of credit cards, secured and unsecured. Secured credit cards are for people who have missed their payments in the past and now they want to build their credit history, so they have to use a secured card. What it means is that you have to load some money in the secured card and you can only use that amount of money. So the bank basically has some assets, and based on that, they give you a credit card. Most likely, if you're a new student, you do not need to go with secured credit cards. You can go with not secured credit cards, which is the vast majority of the credit cards that are out there. What's the difference between a credit card and a debit card? With a credit card, you'll get some amount of rewards on every purchase. So this usually could range from 1% to 6%. Usually, if it is 1 or 2% reward, it is like regular rewards. 3% to 4% rewards are like good rewards, and then 5% and 6% rewards are like high tier rewards. So let's say you made a purchase of $100 and you had a credit card which gave you 5% cash back. In that case, you'll get $5 back. Instead of a credit card, if you would have used a debit card, in that case, you would not have gotten anything. So that is why it is good to use credit cards instead of debit cards. The rewards from credit card could be either points. These are like points that you can then redeem for different things or purchases. They could either give you miles. These are like travel miles, and then you can redeem these for travel related stuff. And then you have cashback. This is like regular cashback, similar to how a discount would work. If you're just starting out, I would not worry about what type of reward you're getting. Just focus on building a good credit score first. But if you're interested to know what you're working with, usually miles and points will have better value than just straight up cashback. So here are the cards usually students go with. The first one is Discover. It's very easy to apply for Discover. You just apply online and then people usually get approved for it. I did not go for Discover, and the reason for it was the reward structure. So with Discover, you'll get 5% cash back on certain rotational categories, and these categories change every quarter. So one quarter could be from Jan to March, where you'll get cash back on Amazon.com and gas. And the next quarter, you'll get some other rewards, which is great. And 5% cashback is also great. The reason why I didn't go ahead with it is it's 5% cashback on certain categories and then 1% on all other transactions. So if you're making purchases on Amazon.com in January, you'll get 5% back. But if you're making the same purchase in April, you'll get 1% cashback. Also, they double your purchases made in the first year. So let's say you made purchases worth $200 in the first year, then they'll double it to make it like $400. And that's primarily why I didn't go with it, because I knew I wasn't gonna make a lot of purchases, so it's better to hold that value for a future date. Next is Bank of America, and this is the card that I went ahead with. This was my first card after coming to the US. It was the customized cash rewards. The process for it was after opening a bank account and having some activity in the account for like 2 weeks, you'll apply for the customized cash reward card and you'll get it. It's not very difficult to get the card. Now it gives 3% cash back on one category of your choosing. So this could be travel or dining or online purchases, and then 2% cash back on groceries and 1% on other purchases. Since I was making a lot of purchases with groceries, I ended up going with this card and not the Discover card, because for with Discover, what would have happened is I would have gotten 5% in one quarter, but then for the rest of the year, I wouldn't have had anything. There's no quarter system on this particular card, so I could use it whenever I want to. And since most of my purchases were in groceries, so it made sense for me to go with this card. Also, pretty much all the credit cards will have some welcome offer, and it's important to make the maximum use of this welcome. So for my customized cash rewards card, it was make purchases totaling about $1,000 within 3 months of getting this card, and then I'll get $200 cash back. I also got unlimited cash rewards credit card 1 year after applying for the customized cash reward card. This was my third card, and this card gives 1.5% cash back on all purchases, so it's better than the 1% cash back on the customized card. Now I know what you're thinking. There's so much to take care of, and you do not want to bother with all of this stuff. In that case, I would recommend you go with the catch-all card. So a catch-all card is like a basic card. It will give you like 2% cash back or reward points on every single purchase, and you do not have to worry about which card will give you 5% back or which card will give you 3% back. There are various catch-all cards, but the one that I went ahead with was the Apple card. So Apple is just the supplier of the card, but the bank behind the card is Goldman Sachs. This card is very well known because of the titanium finish and the rewards you can get on Apple with this card. So if you want to make a purchase on Apple.com, you could get 3% cash back with this card. It's 2% flat cashback on every purchase, but 3% on Apple.com. And it also allows you to make purchases on Apple.com with monthly installments, which you cannot do otherwise. The only drawback of this card is it penalizes you for using the physical card. But if you use Apple Pay, you'll get 2% cashback. If you use the physical card, you'll just get 1% cashback. So remember that. This was my second card, and I applied for it immediately after getting my first credit card, and I got denied for it. So the criteria for Apple card is a bit higher. I applied again 6 months after I got my first card, and I got approved after that. So at this point, I already had 3 cards. And if I had to open another credit card, it had to have some good rewards. So I went ahead and opened a bank account with Chase to eventually apply for the credit cards. And this is the thing, if you have a banking history with a particular bank, then it is easier to get the credit cards with that particular bank. So remember that when opening your bank accounts as well. So I went ahead and opened a Chase bank account, and I wanted to apply for the first card in the Chase trifecta. If you do not know what Chase Trifecta is, it is a set of 3 cards, the Chase Freedom Flags, which gives you 5% cash back on rotational categories. So you use that card primarily. Then you have the Chase Freedom Unlimited, which gives you 1.5% cash back on all other categories, which are not included in the rotational category. So you primarily use both of these cards for your purchases. And then to finish the trifecta, you have the Chase Sapphire card, which allows you to get all of the cash back from the unlimited and the flex cards and then transfer them to Chase points. And Chase travel points are usually worth a lot more than regular cashback. So that's why Chase Trifecta is very well known over here. And a lot of people will just have the Chase Trifecta cards for all of their purchases. But the catch here is Chase cards are very difficult to get and they have a 524 rule. What it means is if you were approved for 5 or more cards within 24 months, you will not be approved for any new Chase card. And in general, Chase cards are quite difficult to get as well. So I waited for about a year and then I applied for the Citi Custom Cash Rewards card. So I applied for the Citi card instead of the Chase card. And the reason for that is the Chase Freedom Flex card was giving me 5% cash back on groceries, but it was in rotational categories. So similar to how Discover worked, it would just work for 1 quarter. And since most of my expenses are on groceries, it did not make sense for me to go with that card. I went ahead with the Citi Custom Cash Reward card, which gives me 5% cash back on any one category for the entire year. So I could use this card for like groceries for the entire year and it will give me 5% cashback throughout the year. So that is how you can customize your cards based on what you spend on. Also, Chase Trifecta is very good if you travel a lot. In that case, you can redeem all of those cashback and points for travel miles. If you do not travel a lot, then it doesn't make sense. I travel like once a year, so for me, it doesn't make sense to have Chase Trifecta, at least now. Also, one important distinction, this gives me 5% back on groceries. But if you shop at Walmart or Target, these are not grocery stores. These are super centers. So that is a distinction which is common throughout all the other cards as well. If they say there's X amount of points on grocery stores, it means grocery stores and not huge supercenters. But if you shop a lot at these supercenters, let's say Walmart or Target, then you can get their individual cards. So Walmart will have their own card which you can apply for and get it. You'll get 5% cashback using that card. Target has their own red card which you can use and Amazon has their own card in partnership with Chase, which you can use to get 5% back if you have Amazon Prime membership. And apart from that, if you shop a lot at other places, then you can use custom cards for those places as well. So cards for Stop and Shop and CVS Drugstore. So that was all of the cards that I have. Some of the other cards that you might have heard of is credit cards from TD Bank or Capital One. All of these cards are pretty much the same. If you have a bank account with Bank of America, go with the Bank of America cards. If you have opened an account with Capital One, in that case, it makes sense to go ahead with the Capital One cards. They're very similar benefits, and the only difference between Bank of America and Capital One majorly is that their savings account. The Capital One savings account will give you 4% interest rate annually. The Bank of America savings account will give you 0.1% interest annually. I already made a video about it. If you want to learn more about it, I'll put the link to it. And the last card I want to talk about is American Express. So American Express again is quite famous. You might have heard about their black cards, which is called the Billionaires card. It's very difficult to get, and only if you are a billionaire you'll be able to get it. Most of the cards will work on a particular payment platforms. Like my Citi card works on the MasterCard network, and my Bank of America card works on the Visa network. But American Express has their own network, which could make it a bit difficult because not everyone will accept the American Express network. Retailers usually have to pay some fee to Visa or MasterCard if people are using their cards. So a lot of the small stores do not go ahead with the hassle of adding another payment network because Visa and MasterCard are much bigger than American Express. But in terms of rewards, American Express has similar cards. If you have an account with American Express, you can go ahead with their Blue Cash Reward cards. And they also have a famous gold card. Now, one thing I didn't talk about is the annual fee on all of these cards. So all of the cards that I have no annual fee, and most of the cards that I've talked about do not have any annual fee apart from the Chase Sapphire card in the Chase Trifecta. That particular card has a $95 annual fee. If you're just starting out, I would recommend just go ahead with a card which has no annual fee because as a student, you'll anyways have very low spending, so you do not want to reduce your rewards by having a card which will have some annual fees. And yeah, that's it. Let me know if you want to know more about any other card, and I'll see you next time.